Good afternoon. I'm Corporal Herndon, and today I'll be teaching this block of instruction on how to identify terrain features on a military map. Behind me, we have our outline, our deliberate risk assessment worksheet, our 1 to 50,000 scale military map, our condition task and standards. Today, our risk assessment is going to be low. We're in an indoor setting. Weather should not be an issue. If there is a tornado warning, we're in a basement, and to the rear of the room right there, there is a safe room. That's where we would go in the event of a tornado. In the event of a fire, right there is the exit. We would exit the building, and our rally point is under the only tree in front of the building. Trip hazards, I've tried to make sure I've removed any trip hazards out of the way. If you see something, watch out for it, pick it up, get it out of the way. Electrical issues, let's not plug up too many devices into the outlets. Keep your drinks off the table so we don't spill them on computers. All right, our task today is going to be identifying the 5 major, 3 minor, and 2 supplementary features on a military map. Our conditions: you are a member of a squad or team in a field environment and have been directed to identify the terrain features on a military map. You have been given a 1 to 50,000 scale military map. The standard is identify the 5 major, 3 minor, and 2 supplementary terrain features on a military map. At this time, I will demonstrate to you finding these terrain features on a 1 to 50,000 scale military map. A hill, a saddle, a valley, a ridge, a depression, a draw and a spur, a cliff, a cut, and a field. That is the 5 major, 3 minor, and 2 supplementary terrain features on a military map. Now I will break it down, what each one is and what they look like. Major terrain features on a military map. We have 5 major terrain features on a military map. We have a hill, a saddle, a valley, a ridge, and a depression. A hill is an area of high ground. From a hilltop, the ground slopes down in all directions. A hill is shown on a map by contour lines forming concentric circles. The inside of the smallest closed circle is the hilltop. Right here is a zoomed in example of what a hilltop looks like on a military map. A saddle is a dip or low point between 2 areas of high ground. A saddle is not necessarily the lower ground between 2 hilltops. It may simply be a dip or break along a level ridge crest. If you're in a saddle, there is high ground in 2 opposite directions, and the lower ground in the 2 other opposite directions. A saddle is normally represented as an hourglass. Right here is what a saddle looks like on a military map. You got like an hourglass. You got your skinny part right in the middle of two high grounds. A valley is a stretched out groove in the land, usually formed by streams or rivers. A valley begins with high ground on 3 sides and usually has a course of running water through it. If standing in a valley, 3 directions offer high ground, while the 4th direction offers low ground. Depending on the size and where a person is standing, it may not be obvious that there is high ground in the 3rd direction, but water flows from higher ground to lower ground. Contour lines forming a valley are either U-shaped or V-shaped. To determine the direction water is flowing, look at the contour lines. The closed end of the contour lines, the U or the V, always points upstream to high ground. Right here, if there is a valley right here and you got your V right here, your high ground would be right here and water would be flowing that way. Right here is a zoomed in version of what a valley looks like on a military map. A ridge is a sloping line of high ground. If you're standing on the center line of a ridge, you will normally have low ground in 3 directions and high ground in 1 direction with varying degrees of slope. If you cross a ridge at right angles, you will climb steeply to the crest and descend steeply to the base. When you move along the path of a ridge, depending on the geographic location, there will be either an almost unnoticeable slope or a very obvious slope. Contour lines forming a ridge tend to be U-shaped or V-shaped. The closed end of the contour lines point away from high ground. Right here is a zoomed in version of what a ridge looks like on a military map. A depression is a low point in the ground or a sinkhole. It could be described as an area of low ground surrounded by high ground in all directions, or simply put, a hole in the ground. Usually, only depressions that are equal to or greater than the contour intervals will be shown on maps. Depressions are represented by closed contour lines that have tick marks pointing toward low ground. Right here is what a depression looks like on a military map, with tick marks going to the low ground. Tick marks is going down into the hole. That's the 5 major terrain features on a military map. Now we're going to go into the 3 minor features. The 3 minor features is a spur, a draw, and a cliff. A spur is a short, continuous sloping line of higher ground, normally jutting out from the side of a ridge. A spur is often formed by 2 roughly parallel streams cutting draws down the side of a ridge. The ground will slope down in 3 directions and up in 1. Contour lines on a map depict a spur with the U or V shape pointing away from high ground. Right here is a zoomed in version of a spur on a military map. It's like a knot sticking out on the side of a ridge. Is what a spur is. A draw is a stream course that is less developed than a valley. In a draw, there is essentially no level ground and therefore little or no maneuver room within its confines. If you're standing in a draw, the ground slopes upward in 3 directions and downward in the other direction. A draw could be considered the initial forming of a valley. The contour lines depicting a spur are U-shaped or V-shaped, pointing toward higher ground. Right here is a zoomed in version of a draw on a military map. A draw and a spur are exact opposites of each other. The draw is a sunk in portion on the side of a ridge, and a spur is sticking out the side of it. A cliff is a vertical or near vertical feature. It is an abrupt change of the land. When a slope is so steep that contour lines converge into one carrying contour or contours, this last contour line has tick marks pointing toward low ground. Cliffs, also shown by contour lines, very close together and in some instances touching each other. Right here is both of those examples of a cliff. Zoomed in versions of both of those examples. This is a contourus where they all run very close together, maybe touching each other. This is where they run into each other, and you have tick marks pointing toward the low ground. Tick marks pointing toward the low ground. Now we have two supplementary terrain features, and both of those are man-made. A cut and a fill. A cut is a man-made feature resulting from cutting through raised ground, usually to form a level bed for a road or railroad track. Cuts are shown on a map when they are at least 10 feet high and they are drawn with a contour line along the cut line. The contour line extends the length of the cut and has tick marks that extend from the contour line into the roadbed, if the map scale permits this level of detail. A fill is a man-made feature resulting from filling in a low area, usually to form a road or a railroad track. Fills are shown on a map when they're at least 10 feet high and they are drawn with contour lines along the fill line. The contour lines extend the length of the filled area and has tick marks that point toward lower ground. If the map scale permits, the length of the fill tick marks are drawn to scale and extend from the base line of the fill symbol. Right here is a zoomed in version of cut and a fill on a military map. In the cut, the tick marks go to the inside of the roadbed. In a fill, they go to the outside of the road toward the lower ground. Now we will practice this. You have your 1 to 50,000 scale military map in front of you. I will give you about 10-15 minutes to practice identifying these different features on your map. I will be walking around. If you have any issues, questions, feel free to ask. Okay, we've practiced. Now we will move into the assessment phase. During the assessment phase, you must identify correctly all 5 major terrain features on a military map, correctly identify all 3 minor terrain features on a military map, and correctly identify the 2 supplementary terrain features on a military map. In order to get a go, you must complete this at 100%. If you miss one, in that case, we will retrain, repractice, and reassess. At this time, we will begin the assessment. I will observe you identifying these terrain features on a military map. Okay, we've completed the assessment. Everybody has turned in their paperwork. Everybody got a first time go. We are all goes. We're going to get a T for trained. We will record these results, pass them up to your leadership. If you would, everybody please turn in your map right here at the desk, and then when you return to your seats, we will conduct an AAR. All right, now we're going to conduct an AAR. The intent for the training today was to learn what the terrain features was on a map and how to identify them. What did we do today? We learned the 5 major, 3 minor, and 2 supplementary terrain features on a military map, and we learned how to identify them. Do we have any sustains for this training today? Any improves? Do we have any comments, anything that would better the training in the future? If not, that's going to conclude this class. I ask as you get up and go to leave that you police up your area. If there's any trash, anything laying around, pick it up and please throw it away on your way out, and you are dismissed.